Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, name 811 is Maha-bhuta. Maha means great. Bhuta has various meanings derived from the concept of being, to come into being, to live, to be born. It also refers to the what's called the Pancha Maha-bhuta or Pancha-bhuta, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kangmano buddhireva cha ahankara itiyang me bhina prakriti ashtadha. Lord Krishna says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego are my separated material energies. So out of these, 5 are considered the Pancha Maha-bhuta, the 5 great elements. They can be called elements. The other 3 are subtle. And mind, intelligence, and false ego are subtle. The 5 Maha-bhutas, gross elements, they're listed in order of going from the grossness to subtlety. So earth, solid, then water, then fire, then air, and then ether, sometimes understood to mean space, not exactly in terms of space as we think of it in the English, or the concept that comes through in the English language, but space in terms of that in which all the other elements can exist. So going from gross to subtle, and then to the really subtle, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So these are all the separated energies of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gives an example in his rendition of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 7, of himself dictating by dictaphone, and later the sound can be played back. So it's Prabhupada, the sound is there, but it's his separated energy. It's non-different from him, but it's his, at the same time, it is separate from him. That's the example Srila Prabhupada gave. Now, Parashara Bhatta, he takes the word bhuta to mean a living being, and Maha-bhuta to mean a great living being, a great personality. And after all the descriptions of Buddha Dev and how he cheated all the very low and fallen living beings, Parashara Bhatta is back to his usual theme in explaining Vishnu Sahasranama. His usual theme is showing the kindness of the Lord in supporting and maintaining and giving delight to those who are dependent upon him. He gives the example of great beings, great personalities. Vyas, Parashara, Shukadev, the Alvas, the Acharyas, the great, great personalities. But then in Krishna's eyes, everyone who is a devotee of Krishna is great. Some are extraordinarily great, such as the names I just gave. But anyone who worships Krishna is great. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said to Sanatana Goswami, who is certainly among the greatest of great devotees, Sanatana Goswami was lamenting that he was very fallen. That's also a symptom of a great devotee, is that he thinks himself fallen. Sanatana Goswami thought himself fallen because of his previous association with sinful people. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, Nicha jati nahe Krishna bhajane ajoga, shatkul vipra nahe bhajane yoga. Jai bhaje shai baro abhakta hino cha, Krishna bhajane nahik jadkuladi bicha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami that birth in a low family is not a disqualification for practicing Krishna consciousness, nor is birth in a high family of Brahmins or whatever an automatic qualification. Whoever worships Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, is great. Whoever worships Krishna is great, and whoever doesn't worship Krishna, however much he may be considered great in material estimation, is fallen and rejected. So there's great hope for us, especially those of us from the very sinful Western world who are picked up by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas tumang partha daiving prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. Lord Krishna says that whoever worships me solely and wholly, he is a Mahatma, he is a great person. And Srila Prabhupada, in his purport in this section of Bhagavad Gita, says you can't make a Mahatma by rubber stamping an ordinary person. An oblique reference to Mahatma Gandhi, or to maybe so many in North India especially, anyone who's got orange cloth and wanders around is commonly called a Mahatma. But Krishna states that a Mahatma is one who worships him, bhajantyananya manaso, wholly and solely. Knowing, why do they worship Krishna wholly and solely? Knowing that he is bhutadim. Now here again we hear the word bhuta. Here in this connection, it means this everything in existence. That means everything which is gross, plus the living beings. Krishna is the origin of all of them, and Krishna is inexhaustible, unlike the material elements, which they come into being, and everything that comes into being has an end in this material world. Nasato vidyate bhavo. Everything in this material world comes to an end, Lord Krishna teaches us. So whoever worships Krishna is great, and Krishna gives shelter to such persons, or he feels them to be his own and non-different from him. Sadhavo hridayang mahyang sadhunang hridayang tvaham maranyate na jananti nahang te bhilmanagapi. Krishna tells the seemingly great personality, the yogi Durvasa Muni, who thought the king Ambarish to be very insignificant in relation to himself. Krishna and Narayana told Durvasa Muni that saintly persons, saintly devotees, such as Ambarish, the saintly devotees they are my heart, and I am in their heart. I am their heart. They know nothing but me, and I know nothing but them. So in this way, Parashara Bhatta, he describes Maha-bhuta as one who has many great personalities as his own. He himself, of course, is Maha-bhuta, a great personality, although he doesn't come into being in the sense of the material elements or material bodies, but he's always existing. And Shankaracharya gives this understanding that he is beyond the three phases of time, which are in Sanskrit. We have in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani cha bhutani mang tu vedana kaschana. That I know everything, past, present, and future, but no one knows me. So the three phases of time, one of them is called Bhutkal, that which has come into being and passed on. So Bhutkal, Vartaman, Bhavishya. Krishna knows all the three phases of time, but he's beyond time. He's beyond coming into being and going out of existence. He's not limited by the three divisions of time. For him, everything is like a continuum. Considering this, we can think of older people who can look back and consider certain phase of their life. Oh, that was the best time of my life. Just like we often hear older devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, their youthful days, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, pioneering work in Krishna consciousness. Oh, that was the best time of my life. They can remember sweet and precious moments from the past, but they can't revert to that time. It's gone. Sometimes older people try to live as if they were still young. They try to pretend to themselves by dressing young people and acting like young people. But it doesn't work. Their bodies don't live up to it. It seems absurd that old people try to act like young people. Peter Pan. It's a story. It doesn't exist in this material world. But Krishna is always young. Navayovanam cha. He's always fresh and new and young. Every moment is the best time of his life. In fact, it gets better and better and better. He's always young. He repeats his pastimes again and again and again. His youthful pastimes in different universes and in the spiritual world. He never gets fed up. He never grows up in this. He doesn't have to grow up to become a wise man because he's always completely wise. At the same time, because he's unlimited, all facets of personality are manifest in him. So he's the most wise person, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, and he's also the most playful and love-smitten person as a youth. He's beyond time. He comes again and again within our perspective of time, but he's always eternally existing. Just like we may say, well, Lord Krishna appeared in this world this year. It's going to be 5,250 years of Krishna's appearance. But that's only from our perspective. If we remember, there's a name in Vishnu Sahasranama we already covered, Samavarta. He takes repeated avatars. It's like he comes onto the stage and we see him on the stage at a certain time. But it doesn't mean he ceases to exist when he's off the stage. Nato natyadharo yatha, Kunti Devi says, Maya javanika chanam agyad hoksajamavyayam nalaksha se muhadrsha nato natyadharo yatha. She says that foolish people cannot see Krishna or understand him being covered by the curtain of Krishna's illusory potency. It's like an actor on a stage. He's not recognized. Again, we see Parashara Bhatta is always emphasizing in his explanations the love of the Lord for his devotees, and Shankara is always, and how beautiful and kind and merciful the Supreme Lord is. Whereas Shankaracharya, he emphasizes the greatness and the majesty of the Supreme Lord. So both are very palatable and instructive. Both should be heard and understand. Hearing about his kindness to his devotees, even those who are trying to be devotees, gives us great succor and hope that sometime we're going to make it to Krishna, because Krishna is so kind. Getting back to the 5 elements, our own Baladev Vidyabhushan of the Gauriya Sampradaya, as well as Satyadeva Vashishta, which we can imagine because he often explains the names in relation to the Supreme Lord's manifestation of and manifestation within this material world, as well as Satyasanda Yatiraj. They all say that this name, Maha-bhuta, refers to Vishnu as the origin of the 5 great elements. Or we can, that earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and also Maha-bhuta in the sense that he's above all of them. He's infinite, he's all-pervasive, he's in all the elements, and yet he's above and beyond them. Everything in time is going on. The integration of the elements coming together to form different bodies and different paraphernalia within this world. And then again, it all disintegrates. It's all going on under his supervision. And he's also the substratum of it all. He holds it all together from below and from above, and therefore he is the great being. And we should know that he is the great being, and we shouldn't be too eager to promote, or at all eager to try to promote ourselves as great beings. Undoubtedly within this material world there are great personalities, but that's only, again, from our perspective. If among the ants we see there's one very great ant, but to us as humans, what does it matter if one ant is especially hardworking, industrious, intelligent? It's just an ant, that's all. So in the same way, we shouldn't be puffed up with borrowed plumes. This is a phrase that Srila Prabhupada uses. Puffed up with borrowed plumes. Whatever we can do, it's not us that are doing it. We are not great. Who are we? We're just tiny. Whatever we can do if we're empowered by the Supreme Lord. And that's as true for materialists as it is for spiritualists. Even the great materialists can only do what Krishna allows them to do or empowers them to do, giving them the results of their previous karmic reactions. So it's ridiculous to claim I am God, as some people claim I am God. If I was to claim I am the Prime Minister of India, who would believe me? Well, one reason I've got white skin, so that doesn't seem so likely. Okay. I am the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and the Channel Islands and everything. And an ordinary man on the street, why should you believe him? You can say it, but why should anyone believe him? So if someone says, I am God, why should you believe him? He's the Maha-bhuta. He's the great unlimited personality. He's far bigger than any prime minister. I gave the example of human to ant, but the disparity between the Supreme Lord and any human being, whether it be the Prime Minister or the President of the United States or the richest man in the world, or the most intelligent professor, the difference is so vast. It's so absurd to claim, I am God. Well, as we know from the Nazi propagandists, Goebbels et al., you can get away more with telling a big lie than a small lie. There's some theory like that. But that by hearing the glories of Lord Vishnu from Shastra, even if we don't have the basic common sense to understand, I mean, we should have, but the basic common sense to understand, I am not God. And no one can claim to be God except he who actually is God. And learning from Shastra, we should know even more so. We should be fully convinced, I am not God. But it's quite amazing that people, even who study Shastra, who are in many ways very serious about spiritual life, I'm talking about traditional Mayavadis, not the neo-Advaitins who just imagine that they are God without even doing any of the rigid spiritual practices or studies that traditional Advaitins did. But even the traditional Advaitins, for all their vast scriptural study, vast knowledge of scripture, and serious commitment to a spiritual way of life, they make such a big mistake of thinking that they are God or that they can become God. Wrong. Wrong. We are not God. We can never become God. We are God in a very limited sense. We are just like a spark has the same quality as fire, but only in a very limited sense. So in one sense you could say we're tiny samples of God, but we can never be like the blazing fire. Another meaning of bhuta that is most common in present-day contemporary vernacular Indian languages is ghost. But none of the commentators, understandably, have interpreted this name Maha-bhuta to mean that Vishnu is a great ghost. However, we in the Gauriya Sampradaya can go that far. The Gauriya Sampradaya is unique in taking the understanding of the Supreme to be the Supreme Person, which is the fundamental point of all Vaishnava Sampradayas in defying the Mayavad or Advaitavad, which seeks to establish that the Supreme is impersonal. But the Vaishnavas say, no, the Supreme is a Supreme Person. Actually, of course, within the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially as presented by the Gauriya Vaishnavas, we have the harmonization of these two understandings. Vedanti tat vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabhyate. The non-dual, it's accepted, non-dual supreme truth is understood from three perspectives, as the Yadadvaitam Brahmopanishadi, the oneness that is apparently the message of the Upanishads, the undifferentiated nirvishesha Brahman, or the Brahma Jyoti, tadapyasya tanubha. But that light of the spiritual light is the effulgence of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the impersonal Brahman effulgence, Paramatma, the manifestation of the Supreme Lord in everyone's heart, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are all aspects of the one absolute truth. So if we say that the Supreme is impersonal, that's true, but it's not the whole truth. It's not the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But there's more to be understood also. So the contention of the impersonalists that the absolute, complete, topmost understanding is the impersonality of the Supreme is contested by the Vaishnavas, who all say that no, Vishnu, Narayana is the Supreme Person. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they take the conception of the personality of Godhead far further than other sampradayas dare to do so. His love is, of course, understood and highlighted in all the sampradayas, but how far does that love go? How far is his personality manifested? The Gauriyas take that to the full extent, that his love is unlimited and it goes far beyond his simply seeing to the comfort and welfare of his devotees and ultimately of all living beings. But the Gaudiyas under Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say that his natural propensity is to love and to experience love and to live in that love and to be love. Raso vai saha, from the Shruti. He is rasa. Rasa is that taste which comes from exchanges, particularly loving exchanges. So the Gaudiyas, they take to the full extent, not out of some imaginative extrapolation, but based on Srimad Bhagavatam, the topmost Vedic scripture, that Krishna's love for Radha is the ultimate expression of love. But there's something even more, which is Radha's love for Krishna. And there we come to the paradox that Krishna is so full of love, but the Supreme Person, is so full of love that he becomes, even though he's the Supreme, but he becomes subordinate to the love of his devotees. His love is so great, but it goes beyond that of a superior to an inferior, which is the love that God has for everyone. But it goes beyond that. The highest expression of love is that between male and female on the spiritual platform. So anyway, that's the highest, but there's something more to be understood, that Krishna himself, the Supreme Lover, comes with the mood of Radharani to experience what it means to love Krishna. Because the love of Krishna, which is so relishable, cannot be relished by Krishna as long as he's Krishna. So he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when he's relishing love of Krishna in the mood of Radha, that love becomes so predominant and completely takes him over. He becomes he who under whom the whole world, everyone is under him. He comes under the sway of that love so much that he forgets himself and becomes like a ghost, as described in the Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna, come with the sentiments of Srimati Radharani. He becomes like a ghost in love of Krishna. Means he's just forgotten himself, dead to the world, and he physically even appears as a ghost. So this is not a subject for ABC beginners in spiritual life. It's not even for highly adept devotees. This is Brahmara Durlabha Prem. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give love of Krishna at a level that is rare even to be imagined, even by great personalities like Lord Brahma. This is far beyond the awe and veneration that is proper in relation to God. How he becomes like a great ghost. So this is one meaning that can be understood for Maha-bhuta. Those who are fortunate can read and relish the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and understand, to the extent that we can understand by his mercy, how to take the name Maha-bhuta in relation to Vishnu and understand it to mean the great ghost is most appropriate in relation to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where even though other great acharyas, they didn't care or dare to touch such an understanding. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has inspired Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he has dared to reveal these pastimes to the world. Otherwise, in one sense, it should not be revealed. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes that at the beginning of his Chaitanya Charitamrita, it shouldn't be revealed because persons will scoff. But then on the other hand, it should be revealed because he came to this world to reveal this. So this is one very confidential understanding of the name Maha-bhuta, when God becomes like a ghost. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dante nidhaya churnakang padaya nipatya kritva chakakushatameta bravimi. He sadhava sakala eva vihaya durad gauranga chandra charne kuruta nuragaha. Parivadatu jano yata tata va nanumukaro navayang vicharayamaha. Hari rasa madira madati mata bhuvi vilutama nartama niravishama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.